Hey guys, Dr. Justin Feldman here from Feldman Physical Therapy and Performance, and we are going to do a really fun video for you. I've been really excited to do this one and get this out for a little while now, but what we're going to do is we're going to compare all of these different fitness devices, wearable devices, trackers, and look at how they can be used to improve your health. So there's a ton of videos out there on the internet talking about using these different types of devices for sports performance and fitness, but we really want to look at that health specific side of it and see what you can be doing to maximize the ability of these things to improve your health. So before we get too far into this, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, send it out to everybody you know. Be a shame if my mom was the only one to see this video after all of the work I put into and testing all of these devices. So definitely appreciate all the support we can get from everybody, and leave some comments. Let us know the things you want us to talk about, or things we maybe got wrong, or stuff that maybe have changed, because you know, the technology world, this stuff moves pretty quickly, so there's things that'll be different, I'm sure, by the time we actually get this edited and posted. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive in and compare all these. We've got the Suunto Baro 9 here. We've got the Coros Apex Pro. Okay. We've got the Apple Watch Series 6 here. We've got a Whoop band. I've got a Polar Vertex here. I've got the Garmin Fenix 6X Pro, which they have so many different things that go with this. I actually have to read it off the back to remember. Got Oura Ring here. And then the last one here, this is the only double branded thing. This is the Garmin Vivosmart 4. And we'll get into a little bit of why we did two Garmin products here. So let's jump right in, and we'll take a look at all these different things and see which one's the best for you to improve your health. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the ones that just don't do such a good job at this. And we're going to put the Suunto Baro 9 and the Coros Apex Pro right into that category. These are great devices. They are super powerful for what they're designed for, but unfortunately, they're just not designed to make big changes in your health. Yes, they track your steps. Yes, they track your sleep. Both of them leave a little bit to be desired as far as the accuracy of those metrics. But these guys, these are really designed for that sports performance crowd. Specifically with these two devices, they're really looking at those outdoor ultra marathon, long distance things. People who are going to go and do backcountry skiing and get lost in the woods for a week, and they've got other health challenges. But these devices just aren't quite meant for that. Next, we're going to take a look at the Apple Watch Series 6. I think in the latest edition of the Apple Watch, both the OS and the device, Apple has done a really good job of pushing towards that health conscious user, but I think it still leaves a lot to be desired, which is why it's not winning any awards here on my end. Apple is one of the only devices, if not it's the only device actually, that can do that ECG heart rate, where you actually will wear the device and you hold your finger on it and it's going to alert you to an abnormal heart rhythm. Downside to that, you have to intentionally take the reading. So it's not like it can be monitoring this in the background for you and alert you. It'll alert you to a high heart rate or a spike in heart rate, but you actually have to take that ECG heart rate. In our Series 6, we do have a pulse ox, but the pulse ox really, unless you find yourself training at altitude, and again, then we get into that sports performance thing, that for the average user, that is not a really necessary measurement. I think with some of the COVID stuff going on, that has become a big thing, but really for the average person, your pulse ox is going to be relatively steady, and unless you find yourself at altitude for a long period of time, we don't expect to see big changes in that number on a regular basis. I think what Apple has done, and this is more on the operating system side than the device side, is start to allow you to track sleep. So in the past, sleep tracking was a little bit finicky with the Apple Watch. You had to use a third-party app. It didn't do it in the watch itself. And then all of that data would end up sometimes, usually in the Apple Health side. But that still, while great for those health conscious people, it's not the best. It doesn't give you the most information compared to some of the devices we're going to talk about in a little bit. I think Apple does a really good job from a health side of trying to motivate you to be more active. The rings, I mean, Apple's great at trying to motivate you to do things. Usually it's to buy their products. But here, they're putting that knowledge to some good use, and they're getting you to stand more with that stand ring, the activity ring, get you to be more active during the day, the exercise ring. I would like to see them add a sleep ring now that they've got the sleep tracking. So if Tim Cook watches this, then that would be amazing and probably make my day. But if he does, add a sleep ring into there, Tim. The other thing I think that Apple can do a little bit better of is in the health app where all of this information goes, I'd like to see a little bit more feedback on things you might be able to do in order to improve the readings that you're getting. And so if you're not necessarily getting enough activity during the day, I'd love to see them maybe give you a couple of suggestions of things you should be doing, change. If it finds you're not getting enough sleep, I'd love to see some suggestions about things you can change about your sleep and stuff to do a little differently. I think one thing, again, this is on the operating system side, but new to Apple right now, is it will walk you through setting up a bedtime. And so if we're trying to get more sleep, we often talk to people about trying to get to bed at a consistent time, put your phone down, stop being so distracted, and this can have great health implications, make a huge difference. And they walk you through this setup in the phone, and I think that is great. Good news is you don't need an Apple Watch for that. You can set that up in your Apple Health app right now, and no matter what you're wearing on your wrist or your finger or what you're using, you can take advantage of that. So that's a big thing that I think is newer to their ecosystem that is great. Okay, now let's look at the Whoop. So Whoop's been around for a while. Was a very big early adopter into the Whoop ecosystem. I think patients, people who we've seen in the clinic, have just gotten used to seeing it on my wrist. I remember back when people would try and figure out what in the world it was, and now they're kind of everywhere. They're all over the place. I think when it comes to a health standpoint, though, and trying to get you to be healthier, Whoop leaves a lot on the table. I think they really want to be good at this, and they're close. But first thing with Whoop is I question the accuracy. And anytime you have to question the accuracy, that's not great. But from me, when I see my heart rate after a workout using the Whoop, when I see my heart rate values throughout the day in the Whoop, I start to have questions about how accurate it is, especially if I'm wearing it while I'm using another device. And the way Whoop will work, for anybody who's not familiar with the ecosystem, is it's going to give you a red, yellow, green score for recovery when you wake up in the morning. And that's basically trying to tell you how much stress your body is ready for during the day based on how well rested you were. And this is great. However, you don't get a lot of information as far as how it makes that determination. Whether it was, did you not get enough deep sleep? Did you not get enough total sleep? Were you restless at night while you were sleeping? What's causing either a good or a bad score on that scale? Also, it doesn't really give you the opportunity to recharge that scale during the day. I've tried napping here and there or getting it to do something that way, and it doesn't seem like it opens me up for more strain on my system. And if you want to do that, you actually need to set it up and tell it you're going to do it. So let's just say I want to take a nap. I need to set it up and tell it I'm going to take a nap, and then it will see, I think, if I'm ready for more strain, but not so great. As we look into some of the other devices, you'll see that they will actually adjust how you're doing throughout the day. And so from a health standpoint, this is amazing because you could work out in the morning and then want to do another workout in the evening and see how well you actually bounce back midday from what you did in the morning or didn't, and make changes or determinations based on that as you're going. I question the recovery accuracy, because if the heart rate isn't accurate during other things, I wonder if other reviewers have sort of come up with the same idea. I just would like to see, if we're talking about a strictly health aspect, I would like to see Whoop give a little bit more information on why they're giving you what score they are, and again, what you can do to be better than you were. So what could I do better tomorrow to not have the same score? And as we get into Polar and Garmin and the Oura Ring, you'll see how well they do this. Now, let's jump into what I'm going to call the winner category. And so I think if you're looking for health improvement, Polar, Garmin, and the Oura Ring, this is where you really want to focus your attention when you're doing your research and determining what device might be best for you. I think that these are the guys that are really leading the effort on this health front. And I think that this will allow you to really focus on your health, what metrics are affecting you, and what you need to be doing. And so let's look at Garmin first. I'm going to put Garmin in third place here of these top three, okay? I think that their body battery feature, and we'll do a little walkthrough in a second of actually their ecosystem and what this app looks like from Garmin's standpoint, but their body battery feature, you wake up in the morning, it is simple, it is easy to tell, it's a battery, we're familiar with batteries, everybody. How recharged am I from the night before? They do have the ability for you to see whether or not you maybe were stressed or restless overnight, and that's good. Like some of the other devices we talked about with Apple, and Coros also actually has this, it'll have a pulse ox measurement. Again, take it or leave it, use what you want. Depending on the device you use with Garmin, so if we're using the Fenix device here, that will give me a respiratory rate, and your respiratory rate can be a really good way of tracking early onset of illness or disease. If you're gonna get a fever, be sick, your respiratory rate for about 24 to 48 hours before you have symptoms will start to creep up, okay? They're finding this with COVID and other diseases too. And so that's a good indicator to have on there. Whoop also will try to measure your respiratory rate, but kind of like the heart rate, it's not as accurate as I would like to see it, and it seems to fluctuate a lot. Your respiratory rate should be relatively stable. As we look at Garmin, where I want to see them improve is I want a little bit more feedback, okay? I want to know, did I just train too hard yesterday and therefore my body battery didn't recharge that much? Did I go to bed too late? I didn't have enough total sleep that my body battery didn't charge too much. I have trouble when I'm looking at mine finding a really good pattern to figure out what happens. And when we look at Polar and the Oura Ring, we'll see the way they're able to really give good feedback on this. And that's what I think just gives those guys the leg up on Garmin. I do want to mention this Vivosmart 4 band because this Fenix watch, I forget how much they cost, $800 something, okay? They're really, really pricey, and this thing can navigate you anywhere you want. It is a really powerful device. It's a computer basically on your wrist. The Vivosmart 4 is under $100. It might be at $100. Of all the devices here, it is the least expensive, and it's great. It gets you into that Garmin ecosystem that we're putting in third place here for health improvement. It will track steps, it will track sleep, puts it all in that Garmin ecosystem, and it is a really good entry point for anybody looking to focus on health specifically. You don't need all the bells and whistles for the things that are designed for fitness. And so this is great. It looks good. If you decide that you want it to be your watch, it can be your watch. If you decide that you want it to not be your watch, you can wear it on the other hand, which is what I've been doing as a way of keeping track of data. And then you can wear another watch on the other hand. I just think this is a great device, especially for that price point. And it's worth mentioning alongside all of these other more powerful devices. Now, let's jump in and we'll take a little bit of a look at this Polar ecosystem to explain what's going on here.
Okay, let's take a look at the Garmin ecosystem here. And what we're going to do is we're going to run through. And so you've got your activity. So I already worked out today. You can see my bike ride here. And we've got my heart rate, resting heart rate, current heart rate. We've got the body battery number, which this is what I like to look at first thing in the morning. And we'll see what happened. This is kind of my gripe a little bit here. I'd love to be able to know why I didn't get all the way up. I could sort of go back and see, okay, this was my past day, but yesterday I hit 100. I can't tell you what was different about yesterday. You can see I get some feedback. You had a high drain day, but managed to charge your body battery well. Come in here, it's giving me my information for the day, but I won't really get a full summary of what happened today until the day ends. I can click this show stress button here and see what's going on. We can look and make sure there's no stress while I'm sleeping, but I'd like a little bit more information from them on this. You can see it tells me how stressful it thinks my day has been so far, my step, right? So you could see here, I already hit my step goal, but we'll talk a little bit where that's a little bit of a problem. Flights of stairs, calories in, out, sleep, okay? And this is that pulse ox number. We find this not to be the most accurate, but it's relatively stable. So, 90, 91 is my average. That's probably actually 100. It's just off by that percentage. We've got sleep, different stages. I do find it does a pretty good job of picking up my sleep and does that pretty well.
Great. Now, let's jump in. Let's look at Polar here, and let's look at this Vertex. Polar, they have been the industry leader in measuring and tracking metrics from your body for a really long time. They were the first ones with the heart rate strap. They've been on the leading edge of the optical heart rate sensors on your wrist. I mean, this thing, hold it up here, you can't really see it from there, but so many different lights and colored lights, and it is so sensitive. The heart rate sensor is incredibly accurate. The data they give you when you wake up in the morning from sleeping about how you slept and how your body's doing, and then what you need to do to continue to be healthier and improve, and the feedback you get is amazing. What I really like about the way Polar does this is that they collect so much information, and they don't do the best job of giving you an easy summary of what that information is. You do have to do a little bit of a deep dive to look at it, but from my standpoint, loving data and loving information, I love going through this data every morning, seeing how different things were. At the end of the day, I love seeing, hey, did I have a pretty restful day today? Was I pretty stressed? Was I moving around a lot? What's going on with my body throughout the day? Do I need to be going to bed earlier? Where do I need to go? And that's great. The other thing I really like about Polar is they will make an activity suggestion for you throughout the day that is based on your past days, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be steps. So it will track your steps throughout the day, okay? Garmin will track my steps throughout the day. Apple will track, these will all track my steps throughout the day. What I like about the way Polar does this though is they say, hey, we want you to be active. And I like to bike, right? If I ride my Peloton in the morning, I may not get a lot of steps out of that, but that will count towards my activity in Polar. And we'll sort of see that in a second here in the way that works. With Garmin, they'll make a step goal for your day, and they will do it. It'll adapt. It'll change throughout the day. But I will find on days where I bike a lot, if I go through a couple of weeks where I bike a lot, I'm getting 5,000 steps a day when I'm biking for an hour every morning. And at the end of the day, it's sort of saying like, you didn't quite hit your goal today. You didn't do that much. Whereas Polar recognizes that, and in the middle of the day, it's telling me, hey, you already hit your activity goal. Maybe take it easy a little bit. And so I like the way they don't have to make your activity based on steps. It's more based on total activity and what you're doing. Especially if you want to be doing some weight training or something like that, you'll get more out of that. And you don't necessarily need to be wearing the device while you're doing it. So let's just say I want to do weight training and I'm going to do kettlebells, and I don't want to be banging my wrist with the watch. I can have the heart rate strap on and it's reading it, and I'm getting credit for all of that activity towards my day. With Garmin or Coros or Suunto, if I'm not wearing the device, even if it's tracking it, it's really basing what you're doing on steps. And so you sort of miss out on a little bit of that information. My thing with Polar, though, and why I don't think it's number one, is it tracks all of this information. And in order to really get the most out of it, you have to do a decent amount of the analyzing and the analytics of the information on your own. And so let's dive into their ecosystem a little bit, and we'll show you what I mean here as we look at the Polar ecosystem and what's going on, so that you can understand where you have to look for each piece of data.
Now let's look at Polar. We look at this ecosystem here, and you'll see gives me a little bit of idea of my activity goal for the day. Obviously not much. We're seeing everything. See, this is a lot of information to be looking at. You dive in, it's going to ask me to rate my sleep, which I like. I like to compare what it says based on how I feel I did. We'll go through here, scroll down. You can see that 76 out of 100 there, a sleep score, very similar to the way both Oura and Garmin are going to rate these things based on my sleep time. And you can click these little icons and it'll give you information about each thing. And since there's so much stuff in here, I'm using that all the time. Interruptions, I really think Polar gives you more information than anybody else. And the hardest part is just having to go through and digest it yourself. All this information about your REM sleep, deep sleep, the way it presents it. And we'll see, you go back. Now, if we want to get some of that heart rate variability information, you have to look specifically at this nightly recharge. And then you have to go in and look at the ANS charge, which is here you see much above usual. And if I open it up, this is going to give you a lot of information, whether your heart rate, that beat to beat interval, my heart rate variability. I can see that graph throughout the entire evening. And that respiratory rate that we were talking about. So the hardest part here is just having to know where to find all this information. And then you could look at the sleep charge, which will bring you right back to the other spot where we were before. And then this page, you could just constantly be updating it. I do like this little clock way of looking at your day. That is a good way of being able to see everything. And it does present this. And you see that daily goal status. And that's what I like. That is not based on steps. And you see, you click it, and it'll give you ideas. Reach your goal with basketball, mowing the lawn, 6 hours of baking. Maybe I'll take that one. But I think they do a great job of presenting a lot of information to you and making it really easy to digest. We can click in here. We'll see this is where I'm going to get information about my training and workouts, and then come back here and you end up back at that nightly recharge. So there's a lot of information that Polar collects here. And I just wish that they made it a little bit more organized to find it, so that when you were trying to analyze it yourself, you didn't have to keep hunting from screen to screen in order to get it.
Now, the winner, this little guy, the Oura Ring. If you are looking for health improvement and that is your main goal, you want to be healthier, I think this is the way to go. This device is so small. It has 3 little sensors in here. It is going to measure your heart rate. It will measure your breathing rate. It actually measures your base level body temperature as well. And you wake up in the morning, you sync it to your device, and it gives you an update of how you're doing. It gives you instant feedback on what's going on, and then it gives you the opportunity to dive deeper into each piece of data. I think where Oura really hits the mark here is they don't try to do everything. So you look at Garmin and Polar, any of these other guys, they want to be it all. And when they're trying to do that, it's just like anything else, you're sort of okay at everything, master at nothing. And we look at Garmin and yes, it can track my running, it can do my workouts and all this stuff. What Oura does really well is it sort of says, hey, use something else to track your workout, and we'll import that data. We'll put that data into our ecosystem, we'll look at it, but we want you to use something else to track your running and get your heart rate for running from something else or exercising, whatever you're doing. But we're going to track your sleep. It does give you a little nudge throughout the day if you're still and not moving around. But it talks to me about trends, how I'm doing. When I wake up in the morning, it will say, hey, maybe you ate a little close to bedtime last night and that's why you didn't get a restful night's sleep. It will tell me what a recommended bedtime is based on how I've been waking up and how much sleep my body needs. And then it'll sort of give you that nice little nudge of a little bit of guilt and say, your bedtime should be between these 2 times, but you went to bed at this time last night. So it doesn't necessarily yell at you, but it throws that in there to make you feel a little guilty as you're doing it. Let's take a dive into their ecosystem and look at how all of this works.
Okay, let's take a dive into Oura Ring here. You'll see it tells me how I did. Looked like I was active but recovered well. It'll give me a really easy to understand sleep score, very similar to that body battery we saw from Garmin. You'll see my activity progress and then that bedtime information on the bottom where it thinks I should have gone to bed a little bit earlier. Now, as we go through, I can dive into each of these pieces of information and get a little bit more information about it. So I was active yesterday, recovered nice. You see my day yesterday and how that affects my readiness to take on stress today. Then we'll go back. We can look at some more information, whether it's my resting heart rate, see my body temperature, respiratory rate, HRV balance, recovery index, previous night's sleep. You'll see it says I was pretty active yesterday, so pay attention. It gives me a little bit of warning. You see I have my heart rate variability. Then we'll jump into sleep. And you look here, amount of time in bed versus amount of sleep, the efficiency. And really, there's just so much information in here to be able to see and understand, and then really lets you dive in to each piece of data deeper. And then we'll look at activity, and this is my activity for so far today. I didn't do much yet today. And you can see daily and weekly information from there. You can even add tags if you did something that you want to track as well. And you see, run through day by day. It's really unlimited the amount of information you can go back and look up. And you see all this feedback you get from it on your training, whether you're meeting your goals, how much you're moving, times of day that you tend to move the most. And you'll see this is where it imports my cycling information from another place. Really, I think they just do such a good job of collecting all that information and presenting it in an easy to digest way that you can take action on right away.
Great. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. As you can see, I haven't even taken the ring off yet. The first thing I did was put it back on because as far as I'm concerned, it's just a great device and I've been wearing it for a while. The other thing I really like about this, and we'll sort of do a little tangent before I actually sign off here, is you can wear it with other stuff. And so one of the main downsides to a watch being your tracking device is that if you, let's say, need to go to a wedding or you're doing something where maybe wearing that watch that looks like a fitness device isn't the most socially acceptable thing, then you miss out on that data, you don't have it there. And if we're looking at tracking health, it's having all the data all the time that is a really important factor. And it's just so easy to just wear it. It's just a ring, it's normal. I wore a wedding ring before, and so this just replaces that, and it's great. So any questions, any way that we can be of help on your journey to improve your health, whether it's through using a wearable device or not, please don't hesitate. Reach out, subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it around. We'll see you all next time.